Oh, friend, can I hold your hand? I promise I'll be gentle. Yes, we'll be walking through some painful things, but we'll be doing it together. And although you may not know me in real life, you may feel like you do in no time at all. Welcome back to the One M Project podcast, where we inspire believers to confidently share their faith and to share the gospel. I'm your host, Jen DeBrot, and I am so happy to be joined by my friend, Carmen Meurer, and she's the author of Stories from the Heart, and Anna Porter, soon to be author of Tears That Talk. Thank you for being here, friends.
Of course.
Well,
Yes. Together. Excited.
Yeah. Well, today we're going to dive into a topic that's really near and dear to all of our hearts, and it's the power of community. As we've talked about in previous episodes, divorce can be incredibly just like isolating, and you can feel like you're so alone, but it doesn't have to be that way. And that's why finding a supportive community is so important. And, I really was so happy to have you girls be part of my journey when I was navigating my way through, and you were part of that community for me. Carmen,
As you were for us. Yes, definitely.
yeah, we all, carry hard things that we've walked through and share about that in our books. But Carmen, you've been involved in women's ministry for a long time. In fact, that's how we met, and that's how I met Anna too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Back in the day.
Back in the day when I was praying for a purpose,
Yeah.
when I didn't feel like I had one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so you connected to a movement called Propel, and so did I. And Christine Kane had founded that, and that's how we met, right?
Yep. Yep. Actually, the first thing I went to was an event with a friend, one of her, what do you call the big gatherings? I'm blank on it right now, but conference in Houston, where they were calling for new Propel women leaders to lead some curriculum that she had developed in their local town. And when I walked in the door and saw the sign, I'm like, that's me. That's it. That's what he wants me to do.
Yeah.
So then I started a chapter of the Hound Propel Women, and leaded over the 3 years. There was over 100 women who had attended our Bible studies that we were holding outside of a church.
It was amazing. And
Yeah.
it's really when we connected. There were the Activate events. And I went to the Canton, Ohio one and got more involved in the Muskegon area and in Propel in general. And so over time, because we were both leaders of Propel women's ministries in communities nearby, they kind of connected us.
Yeah.
And then Anna was part of your group.
Yes,
Yes.
which I found you on Facebook. I was searching for community. I had an amazing church family, but I was looking for something more. And God knew me better than I know myself. And I'm on Facebook looking. I'm like, Propel, purpose. Carmen, let's go. So that was amazing.
Well, what was so cool about it is that these 100 women that attended throughout the 3 years, they were all people I didn't know. And when I said yes at that conference, someone else said yes at the same time to be a leader with me, and I didn't know her before either. So he was just putting the pieces in place. And then we ended up with nine leaders over our 3 years, and we even worked through COVID and having to do all the recordings and doing all the virtual Zooms that we never did before. And yeah, so that was quite a deal.
And it formed a lot of different communities. And so, Anna, I wanted to talk with you a little bit as we are going to be talking today about some of these heavy topics, but specifically divorce and community and how important that is. I wanted to talk with you, maybe if you could share a little bit about your journey after more than 30 years of marriage and the struggle that you experienced.
Oh boy. Yes. I think a lot of it was I didn't know next steps, and I didn't know, I felt very alone. I was isolated. Most people didn't know that I was going through what I was going through. 35 years with my ex-husband, and I really thought I was alone until I started allowing myself to be vulnerable, because that's really what it is, being vulnerable and just being raw and trusting people. First of all, trusting God, and just taking those steps. So, and I also was inspired. I was very inspired by Jen because I've seen the aftermath of divorce and how beautiful it could be. I always quote beautifully blended in my pictures now today, fast forward. I always think about you because it's possible, so reading with other women and that have gone through it. And not that you want to be inspired by divorce. It's definitely not the message I'm trying to give. But the strength and the courage and the community that comes together, in a time that I didn't really knew that I needed,
And how you can come out on the other side being your true self.
Exactly.
New and improved.
Yes. Yes, that's key. And I'm hoping we talk more about that because identity, losing who you are or really not knowing ever who you are was a big thing for me. Because coming on the other side of it, I mean, that's 35 years. I'm 51, most of my life, and so I remember sitting like, who the heck am I, And so coming together with other women, like-minded women, that trusted God and had been through similar situations really helped me. Mm-hmm.
Did you feel that way, Jen? Really alone and isolated and
I had people I could reach out to, but most of my friends were put together in, their marriages and their families were still put together. And so even though they were there for me, I didn't have other divorced friends that I could connect with or that were further ahead that were put back together that I could really look to. So, so because of that, I didn't want to talk with my friends that's 20, 30 years of marriage and give family. So
the fear of being judged, possibly going through that. Yeah.
Well, I had the same thing at the beginning, being estranged from my daughter. I felt like people were probably judging that and wondering what kind of a mother I was. So kind of in that same respect, it was tricky at first.
Yeah. And we're going to talk more about your book and your topic because it's a painful, isolating thing that you walk through, not wanting to really share with people what you're going through because of the fear of that judgment that might come from them, especially within the church. So, it is hard, but there's such a value of a sisterhood, a community that can help walk with you through it and let you know you're not alone. I want to hear a little bit about your book, Carmen, if you will. Just touch on it a little bit and tell us a little bit about what it's about.
Sure. It's I'm writing a devotional book for mothers who are estranged from their children. It's called Stories from the Heart because really it's just me telling you my personal journey and how God met me every single time in a struggle that I was having. And so within that, I just share, I start with an empty chair at the table at Thanksgiving, and I talk about Father's Day and, just lots of the challenges of being away from your only child. And, but he just, brought me purpose and just kept leading me into supporting women. And so when I started the Propel chapter and then I went on to start a nonprofit, he gave me a purpose when I didn't think I had one. So I share a bit about that in my book too, but the devotional is really for those estranged moms to feel like there's someone sitting next to them in a chair that can understand where they are, because there's not a lot of people that can relate
Or that will talk about it.
So yeah, the purpose for me writing it is to just, if it helps one woman, it was worth it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I think that's one of the things I admire most about you, Carmen. Ever since I've met you, you've been walking this out, and instead of allowing it to be the crippling thing that prevents you from moving forward in ministry or, really just caving in and feeling sorry for yourself and not using it for something good. Instead, you've just decided over and over and over again to get yourself with other women, to minister to them, to not hide this part of your story. And now in such a public fashion, you had a blog, now you're writing this book and getting it in front of people that can minister, you can minister to, instead of allowing the enemy to steal from you all these things over the years.
I mean, he did for a little while, believe me. He tried, did do. do some of those things you mentioned earlier.
I love her tenacity and like her gump. She's always been like a go-getter. I love that. And I'm like, I can't keep up with her. So and for me not to keep up with somebody is like, wow. But I remember it was like maybe 4 months ago. We were talking to Carmen and sharing with her about our books, and we went into more conversations, and I'm like, she shared about the journals you had, because I'm using my journal for my book. And I'm like, well, you have your book written. And literally, you have your book written now. So she was not mess around.
Well, you're definitely got that willpower to just go and put something together. You're the party planner.
Yes, yes. Now we'll be book launch planning.
That's right. Yep, lots of right. Well, so what advice would you give to someone who's struggling to find community after divorce, Anna? Yeah, like if they're struggling and they don't have community, how do they reach out and what do they need to do?
Mm. Well, I think the first thing, I mean, I can share what I've done, is really just being vulnerable and being honest with yourself, and to be in a space where I don't have to think that I have it, like I got it. That was always my MO. I got it. I got it. And so just really being honest with yourself and saying, this is really happening. And trusting God more than anything, just saying, okay, Lord, I'm going to take this leap. I trust you. So really trusting God and, being able to receive from women. That's another thing for me. I think sometimes I know the answers, I have the answers, and really I just had to open my heart up to receiving from other women, especially ones that have been through it.
Well,
And being brave.
Propel chapter. I mean, I would say that was probably a big piece for you too, like it was for me at the time, to be gathering with all these women who didn't know your background story and weren't judging you. And were you feeling judged,
There was such a power in the prayer pushing. I remember I could just send a text out. I'm going through this with no questions. I'm going through this. Please pray for me, or just pray for me in this moment. And that really carried me through some really hard times. So.
Yeah, and I can remember there was a season where you guys did separate, and I remember just some phone calls between you and I where you were contemplating, is this what I need to do? Do I need to go through a divorce, and can I restore this marriage? And so it wasn't, when we talk about divorce, it's not an easy 1, 2, 3, or okay, look up this verse, that verse, and then you know what you're supposed to do. You really have to walk through it with the Lord and discern what God is trying to lead you on. In fact, I just had a conversation today with somebody, and it's, you just want to be a listening ear. You certainly don't want to advocate one way or the other, or push them to do anything that God isn't calling them to. And so,
yeah, that's key. What you just said is super key, because not once through this journey did anyone say, do this, get divorced. Not once. You came alongside me. The women came alongside me, which is super important. There could be bias and all of the things that come with that. You really, as a personal time for you and God, just to have that one-on-one, the stillness, it really is.
yeah. And we're not really talking about some of the things that contributed to getting to a place where you would even consider a divorce. There is not, yes, the Bible talks about hating divorce. The Bible talks about, there's a verse I remember someone gave me was, if he departs, let him depart. So there are scriptures that can give you some direction. But ultimately it isn't what the Lord wants. The Lord doesn't want for any that we would, separate that union and that covenant with the Lord. So I just want to be careful also on these episodes, just to really make sure to honor the word of God and what it has to say about marriage and the covenant of marriage. And so this isn't a place necessarily to advocate for divorce. This is more a place for people that find themselves in not wanting that to be their journey, but having to accept and embrace that becoming their journey. Like you, Carmen, this isn't what you want to be talking about. You wish that you had a different book to be writing, right? But this is the journey you're on. And so God will lead you, and then you can offer healing to others as you found it for yourself from the Lord walking with you, right? So, yeah, I thank you for that thought about, who to reach out to and how and what advice to take and how to navigate with that. Good advice. What else is important aspect of community as it relates to just sisterhood and pieces that have been helpful for us?
Well, I mean, it was my glue.
Mm-hmm.
It was my glue to have new people surrounding me that cared for me, that prayed for me, like you said, who let me be myself and say what was on my mind and even cry with me, sit next to me and understand that nobody wants to be estranged from their children. Nobody would choose that. And so I was always looking kind of for the next thing, which at first was like trying, it was put one step in front of the other, but I was seeking new relationships and new friends and support. And so getting involved in Bible studies and in different women's groups and things were some of the things that really just helped pull me through. When I was isolated, I was crying and felt alone. That didn't work for me.
Yeah, it wasn't
working for me.
probably for your husband either.
No, right.
Yeah, it's painful for them to experience our suffering and emotional torment, and they don't always know what to do with it. So that's why friends that are women that are more emotionally able to share and connect are a place of safety. I just think of that woman that's out there right now potentially that, is like, yeah, but I don't want to share, or I don't know who to trust. I don't know where to go, who to call. I know I need somebody. I know I'm feeling alone and isolated, but I don't know what to do. How do we help her? What do we say to her? How do we grab her and bring her to this table with me?
Absolutely. I think one thing to keep in mind is, for me, again, I'll use myself as an example. I'm very much love my culture, my Latina culture, and I had to step out of that comfort zone. And I had to tell myself everybody doesn't have to look like me, and keep searching for your people, but don't get locked into a box. And just really be clear that you can step out of your comfort zone in your culture, and I dare you to, So
That's good. Well, we're gonna have another conversation, I know, and as we do, we'll probably be talking a little bit more about how community and finding connections like this can actually stir those conversations that lead you to really discover your purpose, which is really what has happened with our friendships. And so I'm excited to continue this conversation. But for now, I think we just want to encourage you, if you're looking for a community to be a part of, we want to invite you in. And 1M has some opportunity for support. And so we'd love for you to reach out to us on our website. You can do that at the1mproject.org and to learn a little bit more about the support that we have available through groups like this. So thank you for joining us. Thank you for being part of this course.
thanks for having us. This was good.